So we're back here again at the Mighty Dragoon for the first ever pack opening for this series. So as I displayed in the last episode, I gave sort of an idea as to what direction we can take the deck to begin with and where we can build off of from there. And one of the major things that we want to include is the invoked archetype. So I got us 8 packs of Shadows in Valhalla to start off with. Generally speaking, inside Shadows of Valhalla, we'll find the invoked core, namely Aliaster and Invocation. Aliaster is a secret rare, and Invocation is a super rare in these packs, and hopefully we can pull at least one of each, at least within this week or the next one. We really want to expand into that, but regardless, there's also a few other good things in Shadows of Valhalla, like Magical Meltdown, which prevents our fusion cards from being negated, as well as I believe Ash Blossom is also in the set. Regardless, we are gonna dig right into it. Oh, I have not held a booster pack in a long time. As you can see, there is a Slovakian on these because I had to order them online because these things are not being sold down here anymore. Don't question my pulling capabilities. Is Secret in front on these? No. But we're starting with Neospatian Flame Scarab, Elemental Hero Chaos Neos, Yellow Ninja, Fortune Chariot, and Gem Knight Seraph Knight. Nothing in that pack that is of any major use to us, though the additional ultra rares are nice, I suppose. We're gonna tear into this, starting off with Armor Ninjutsu Art of Alchemy, Omega Summon, which is technically included in the invoked archetype, so I suppose we will save that. Cyberdark Impact, Vision Hero Trinity, and Hidden Village of Ninjutsu Arts. A lot of ninjas in this, as well as Hero Trinity, if we decide to play Trinity OTK, I suppose. Though, yet again, they're not really that useful for us. So Mega Summon's cool if we get the Aliaster Link monster that can actually bring it out. They're a little bit warped, but hey. That could just as well be me mishandling the packs as it could be anything else, right? They're also old, so you get what you get. Another Neospatian Flame Scarab, Magic Planter, Upstart Golden Ninja, Mermail Abyss Megalo, which is one of the other few decks that I still own, is a Mermail deck, so that's an upgrade for that deck. Oh, hell yeah! That is good. Aliaster the Invoker of Madness. 2 monsters with different types and different abilities. If this card's name becomes Aliaster the Invoker while on the field or in the graveyard, if a monster is fusion summoned while you control this monster, except during the damage step, you can discard 1 card, and if you do, add 1 Invocation or Book of the Law from your deck to your hand. If this face-up card you control leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect, you can add 1 Omega Summon from your deck to your hand. That is awesome. It's not the Aliaster we actually wanted, but that is a great addition if we manage to draw an Invocation from the rest of these packs. We have 5 packs left to go for today, but getting an Aliaster is super good. We can probably run that anyway if we just draw like any... There's only 1 invoked fusion card in this set, unfortunately, and that is Macabre, but Macabre is still the best, arguably the best fusion for them. So there's a chance we could draw that, which would be amazing. But Aliaster is cool. Alright. Elemental Hero Neos, Valkyrie Smite. Really? Okay, I'll upgrade it on my other deck, sure. Urgent Ritual Art and Gateway to Chaos. Unfortunate, nothing there that we wanted. Now I have 2 of these. What am I supposed to do with you? Are we doing fucking Mermail? Sealed only Mermails? Is that even possible to do? Wasn't there like a Mermail structure deck a long time ago that you could do that with? God, I sure wish there was. I may be talking out of my ass here. Alright, open that up. See what we got in this. Oh, speaking of which, here he is. Invoked Mechaba. Aliaster the Invoker and 1 light monster. Once per turn when a spell, trap, or monster effect is activated, you can send the same type of card from your hand to the graveyard to negate the activation, and if you do, banish the card. Really, really fucking good. One of the key cards in the invoked strategy, and is definitely going in the deck. Awesome. We now have 2 of them. Now we just need the 2 main cards, which is Aliaster and Invocation. Upstart Golden Ninja, Elemental Hero Magma Neos. Ah, Garnet Scald Oracle, not what we wanted. And Fusion. Oh! A secret Shaddoll Winda. That looks awesome. It's hard to give off the reflection properly, but that's really cool. It's an alternate art for the deck, I suppose. I'll keep that. 3 packs left to go. We want an Invocation and we want an Aliester. We have one of them already. A Magical Meltdown wouldn't be bad either, because that's something we can actively slap in the deck already, regardless if we have an Aliester or not. Here we go. Twilight Ninja Jogan. Another Elemental Hero Neos. A Golden Bamboo Sword. Elemental Hero Magma Neos. And... Fuck yeah, dude! We got one! That's awesome! The main boy himself, Aliester the Invoker. Quick effect, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard to target one fusion monster you control, and then it gains 1,000 attack and defense until the end of the turn. But more importantly, if it's normal summoned or flipped face up, we can add one Invocation from our deck to our hand. We got one of the main boys. Awesome! I'm happy about that pull, actually. We do want 2 or 3 of these, but having one is so good. 2 packs left. We need a freaking Invocation from one of these. If we have that, then hoo boy, we can start doing some real shit. 2 chances. So Invocation is a secret rare, so there's 8 chances total to get it here. Goddess Scald Oracle. Magic Planter. 2 spell cards that are what I want. Mist Valley Apex Avion. Yellow Ninja. And Outer Entity Azathoth. Not what we want here. But having these cards in the first pull, holy shit. That's so good. Unfortunately, we have like nothing we can fuse in. Like, we can't fuse it because we don't have an Invocation to fuse with. We can fuse with Super Poly, but that seems like a bit of a stretch. Okay, last pack. Here we go. Flip it open. Mist Valley Apex Avion. Ninjutsu Art of... That is the wrong pile. Ninjutsu Art of Super Transformation. Urgent Ritual Art. Not a spell. Damn. Luckily Erst and... No. Ah, it's Wind Witch Ice Spell. Okay, yeah. I should have thunk. I thought we got a second Aliester there. But holy crap. From the first 8 packs, not only did we get our boy... We got another Winda, which, you know, is basically like a rarity bump at this point with alternate art. We got our main fusion boy, which is Invoked Makaba. Absolutely insane. Aliester the Invoker of Madness, which is definitely a Link monster that we will include at some, if you could focus. Definitely including this if we manage to find an Invocation in the next opening, as well as an Omega Summon. From 8 packs, that's pretty stinking good, I'm not gonna lie. I'm unsure if I'll be able to fit these into the deck currently, given how we can't really fuse into anything. I really want to get into Makaba though, but these 2 cards are definitely contenders for the deck. We need to pull ourselves an Invocation. That's what we need. But for now, these 5 cards, awesome. I will cut to our duels now to see if there's anything that we decide to change up, and if we do, what we change. But for now, I will cut to myself. I'll see you in a bit. And cut to myself, I shall. Welcome to the first official duel for the deck, where we're going up against some form of dragon combo. Our starting hand is about as traditional as you'd expect. We play Mathematician, dumping Squamata and Wendy to summon a beast to the board, and we should all fuse into Shakanaga. A decently good opening board, I would say. Our opponent goes into Chaos Space and attempts to go into Strike Dragon, but, you know, I negate it because I don't want Boot Sector Launch to go live, but turns out he has one in his hand anyway. He fetches Rocket Tracer and goes off into his Dragon Shenanigans from there, going into Tenyi. Tenyi bashes the living shit out of Shakanaga, which gives me my Shaddoll Fusion back, and then he punches me for 4,100, sending a Mathematician to the grave. I draw a card, and now I'm like, well, shit. I flip open Beast to try and draw into more answers, to which he immediately banishes the card, but the effect goes off anyway. I drop Hound from my hand to the grave to flip him into defense position, which he has 0 of. I go into the normal combo, bring a Beast onto the board, and then I normal summon Hedgehog in order to beat over Tenyi. Imagine. I then use Shaddoll Fusion to get into a Winda to ensure he doesn't have any plays for the following turn, drawing myself a Wendy in the process. He goes into Dragon Shrine, attempting to fetch and start off his plays without realizing the fact that he is still under Wendy's effect and cannot special summon. He destroys Wendy, unfortunately, bringing me a Shaddoll Fusion back to my hand, ending on a board of Silver Rocket Dragon and Striker Dragon. This does not bode well for him, as I simply flip open Falco to bring Shekinaga back face down, flip open Beast to draw more cards, drawing into nothing of real value, but using Shaddoll Fusion again to bring into Apkalone, shutting down Silver Rocket Dragon, because I don't really have another target here. Ariel simply banishes 3 random cards from his graveyard, because I don't really have a good target to do. Beast bashes over Striker Dragon, Apkalone strikes over Silver Rocket Dragon, Falco goes in for 600 damage. He starts off his turn and gets a Rocket Synchron. I simply flip up Shaddoll Incarnation to bring up Winda. He goes off into his Dragon Link combos once again, because what do these players do? They have Dragon Link combos. Punches over Falco, but I stop him using my Turtle Engrave to ensure everything stays on the board. I start flipping up everything into attack position, and he scoops. Game 2, we have a similar hand. I have sided in my Lost Winds to ensure I can shut down anything that he happens to play. He again goes into Striking Dragon and Virobuster, getting himself the Boot Sector launch, going into Dragon combos, and this time he just pops off. He gets literally everything he needs for his combo, going into LP, going into Pisty, getting his rockets back, getting a Legacy Guard Dragon. He goes completely off the rails. He ends on a board of Borreload Savage with 2 counters and a Borreload Dragon. Our hand is not made to deal with that, so I simply have to set to pass. He goes into his turn, manages to get into a 10G, and I scoop because I know there is nothing I can do. Game 3, we start with a Super Poly in hand, which is much, much better, so we can stop his combo as soon as we can. We activate Shaddoll Fusion during his standby phase in order to get into a window to shut down his plays, to which he chains Quick Launch. Still having to get he goes into 10G and beats over our window, unfortunately. Winda brings us an Shaddoll Fusion back from the grave to our hand, to which we activate Super Poly, and I remember this distinctly because our opponent just read "well shit" in the chat at the same time. With Wendy on the board, we simply bash in for 2,200 and set a, we bash with Winda and set a Wendy. They have such fucking similar names, come on. Chaos Space goes off, and he immediately scoops knowing he can't do anything. With 1 win in our bag, we head off into our second duel against Sacred Beasts. He starts off by doing some danger shenanigans and doing his best to bring the Sacred Beasts onto the board, which he succeeds in doing by bringing up Raviel in defense mode. Our hand is decent enough to do this, I would suppose. We bring out a Construct, attempting to bash over the special summon. However, he has a Super Poly of his own, so we actually fall straight into the trap, unfortunately. He brings out a Starving Venom Fusion Dragon to do so. All of our graveyard effects pop off, so we are able to bring back our board, essentially. But we can't really do anything except set 4. He activates Starving Venom's effect to shut down Performapal for some reason. Falco's effect goes off, and we set back the Construct that he fusion summoned. We get our Performer Mage back, and now we have 4 cards on the board to play with to deal with his board of 2. Flipping open Squamata, we target Raviel. He shuts it down with Starving Venom, which allows us to go into Shaddoll Fusion, going into Apkalone to shut down Starving Venom permanently. This way he no longer has any negates on the board. We go into Beast in order to draw cards, and he scoops. Game 2 goes much, much worse for us, as he is able to pop off yet again. But this time he doesn't just bring out a single Beast. He ends his board with the biggest, baddest run-up of things you don't want to fight, number 1. And our hand is god-awful. Not a single spell to deal with what we're about to see. He also activates Fallen Paradise, which is like our worst enemy since we can't target anything with card effects. But yeah, he ends on Raviel, Hamon, and a Dragoon. Yeah, we attempt to Shaddoll Fusion, but it gets immediately negated. He flips everything up, and I know there is no point in this match whatsoever. I simply scoop them up as we are defeated next turn. Duel 3, we decide to go first this time. We try to do Mathematician, but it gets impermed immediately. We attempt to Allure, but that gets ashed immediately, meaning he's now -2. We have a Mathematician and 2 Sec cards on the board currently. He is able to start off his combo immediately going into Raviel and a Fallen Paradise, meaning we are now in a bad spot again. He punches us in the face, that allows us to, at the very least, draw a card. And we top deck Super Poly, which we immediately use to get rid of his only threat, bringing in Winda. He does get a token off of this, but that counts as his special summon, meaning he can't really do anything else. He activates Awakening, we use our special summon to bring back Performapal, punch the token away, and we end the turn. He draws into a Chaos Summoning Beast, and we use our Shaddoll Incarnation to bring back a Winda face down in order to try and build more advantage on the board if possible. He activates a spell trying to do his best to bring a big boy out, and he does, the only one being Snake Boy, aka Slifer, but he scoops. For our third duel, which is probably going to be the most exciting duel I've done since my return to Yu-Gi-Oh!, we're facing off against a Shaddoll Mirror. However, they are playing a 60-card Trickstar variant. Our starting board ends up being fairly decent, I think to myself, as we have a Construct, a Mathematician, a Falco face down, and we set a Pot of Avarice as a trap. And our opponent pops Shaddoll Fusion. And I immediately shit my pants because I realize what I've gotten myself into. He also starts off by getting a Construct onto the field, setting a Dragon, which he flips using a Shaddoll Incarnation, returning both of our... returning my Construct to the extra deck, while he summons a Nightmare Phoenix to destroy my fake trap card. He then summons yet another Construct, unfortunately, meaning he has the advantage here. Mathematician goes to the grave, and I end up drawing into a Falco. He sets one, sets a monster, and passes to me. I activate Falco's effect in order to bring back Beast to the field in an attempt to draw some cards, and then I summon Mathematician, throwing Squamata, throwing into Dragon to pop his face down. His face down ends up being a Shaddoll Fusion. I bash into Falco, Falco bringing up Hedgehog, and then I use my Falco to bring down his Hedgehog, just to make sure that he doesn't have anything on the board. I then special summon Blackluster Soldier, for the first time probably, by banishing the Trick Clown as well as a Shaddoll card, and then banish his Construct. And then he goes into his Trickstars, which I didn't realize he was playing until now, and I realized how badly this is going to go for me. He clears most of my board, essentially dealing me extra damage thanks to the Trickstar field spell. He then activates Shaddoll Fusion to bring in Apkalone simply silencing Blackluster Soldier. He then goes out and banishes 3 cards from my graveyard using Aerial, and then goes into his... I can't remember what the name of that Link monster is because I'm a dum-dum, but it's very annoying. Anytime something is summoned into one of its zones, he banishes everything on the field and it returns the next turn. He then sets 2 cards and gets his dude back. It's Topological, I think it's named. I activate a Shaddoll Fusion attempt to go into a Winda because that is my only target. He activates Ruck, and I know I'm screwed, so at this point, I simply concede. For game number 2, we have cited in most of our hating back row removal that we have, knowing that Shaddolls can do a lot of things. We go into our starting combo, getting a Beast on the board, and setting ourselves another card, and then an El Shaddoll Fusion. During our turn, we immediately flip up the El Shaddoll Fusion, drawing a card off of Beast and putting Winda onto the board to ensure that he can't special summon a bunch of crap. He activates another word, banishing a Falco. Then I get Kaiju'd. Kaiju hits the board, meaning our Winda's now in the graveyard, but we do get our El Shaddoll Fusion back. He goes into his Trickstar plays and summons a Pancratops and Monster Reborning our own Winda. Interesting. We draw a card and he activates one of the most annoying cards in the game, which is a Trickstar Trap card that simply lets him banish our entire hand, and then we draw the same amount of cards. But we top deck into a Super Poly, and thanks to the fact that he is also playing Shaddolls, we can use 2 of his monsters to make our own Shaddoll. We flip up Falco, getting Beast onto the board, and then we actually link into normal Shaddoll Construct in order to go into El Shaddoll Construct. We then send a Re-Shaddoll Incarnation and special summon Blackluster Soldier from our hand, bashing into him, hoping he won't do anything next turn. We now have an Apkalone... Oh no, sorry, not Apple. We have Shekinah, Construct, and Blackluster Soldier on the board. He special summons into his own Construct, sending a Wenda and Squamata combo, getting into a Dragon, activating his Re-Shaddoll from the graveyard in order to flip open Dragon to return Construct to our hand. We attempt to negate it with Shekinah, but he drops a Forbidden Chalice onto us, negating the effect. Construct bashes into Blackluster Soldier, destroying it immediately, to which he special summons yet another Trickstar from his graveyard, bashing into us for 800, and then it's on to our turn. We then activate Re-Shaddoll Incarnation after setting our Hedgehog to where we can pick up any spell card and he concedes. For game 3, this is probably the most exciting duel I've had, as I said. I simply set to knowing that I can't really do anything else here. He activates Terraforming, immediately going into his Trickstar stage. He activates an Allure, dumping another one, and goes immediately into his Trickstars. He then sets 3 passes, to which I immediately activate Super Poly to drop Construct. Now that I know I'm playing against Shaddoll, I refuse to put any more monsters onto the board for my turn, knowing that he could have a Super Poly set, but he banishes my hand and forces me to redraw. I simply set 1, punch in the face, hope for the best. On his turn, he activates Mystic Mind. Now, for those that don't know, Mystic Mind says that as long as I control more monsters than he does, I cannot activate any monster effects or declare an attack. If he ever controls more monsters than I do, same effect goes for him. So I simply pass turn, draw some more cards to when he eventually activates Shaddoll Fusion, bringing up his own construct, attempting to start his plays. He then activates Incarnation to bring back another monster, being a Squamata. He now has 2 monsters on the board, so I think to myself, hey, maybe I'm actually able to do something. So I flip 2 cards open, knowing full well that they don't get effects in order to try and destroy Mystic Mind. However, he activates his thing, flips Squamata to bring me down to 1 monster again. During his turn, he activates Allure, trying to draw into more cards, and that simply ends his turn. I then draw into a sideboarded Twin Twister, which I do to destroy both his cards, and he negates me again using Forbidden Chalice. I activate Mathematician, throwing a Squamata, throwing a Wendy. You've seen this many times before in order to get a beast on the board. I then activate Construct's effect to special summon itself, destroying my own construct, and then stealing both of his cards for a construct of my own. At this point, I'm looking good. Unfortunately, in his hand, he has a Nibiru. So, with that full board in mind, I get Nibiru, not thinking about it. I then activate another Shaddoll Fusion in order to get my 3rd construct onto the board to destroy his Nibiru. I end the turn with 1 card set and in a horrible position. He gets back one of his Trickstars yet again and simply punches me for free, then activates its effect to special summon or drag one to the grave, from grave to hand. He then activates Super Poly on me, destroys my construct, gets his own construct, begins filling his board yet again, and at this point I am out of constructs in my extra deck. I have 2 Shaddoll Fusions in my hand, so I activate my Incarnation in an attempt to bring Dragon back from the graveyard. When Dragon is back, I immediately flip it back up before he banishes my entire hand again. I attempt to return his construct to the extra deck, but he flips open an El Shaddoll Fusion, allowing him to bring back a new one. Since he now has 2 cards on the board, I simply decide to activate my Construct's effect in the graveyard to special summon it, and then I put a Lava Golem onto his side of the field. Activating Foolish Burial, I drop a Hedgehog in order to draw yet another Shaddoll to my hand. I activate Construct effect in order to bring out the Water Fusion this time to attempt to stop him from using any fusion cards. However, he has an out for this as well, as he banishes 8 cards from the top of his deck in order to special summon one of his side deck options, then banishes cards from his extra deck, destroying me, summoning a Grand Maju, and ending the game. Match number 4 is going to be going up against an archetype that I've never seen before, Witchcrafters. So, Witchcrafters apparently rely on 2 monsters and an absolute butt-ton of spells. The monsters in question are the one currently on the board, which lets you reveal spell cards from your hand in order to increase a monster's attack, and then one of the other Witchcrafters that you will see in just a few moments here that makes it so that you can't target other things with card effects, as well as being able to pitch for cost to destroy a monster. Our start is regrettably very, very bad, as he goes into his Witchcrafter combo rather early, simply drawing all of his spells back from Banish to the hand. As you see, he hits me for 3,900 on the first turn just by revealing, and he manages to punch both my monsters out. I go into a beast to attempt to draw into an answer, but I find nothing good. During my turn, I activate my Shaddoll Fusion in order to go into an Apkalone in order to attempt a negation, but he immediately pops it. As you can see, we now have a chain 5 going on. I do El Shaddoll Fusion just to get my effect off anyway, fusing into a second one. Winda, there's so many effects. Winda activates, Apkalone activates, and I do my absolute best in order to try and
to negate the board, just so I'm clear to do my shenanigans here. I even get out a Blackluster Soldier, but he is immediately negated by the second card just for pitching a spell. This is essentially an Omni negate, meaning I am in a very, very bad position. I try to go into a Pot of Avarice just to get into a play, but regardless of what I do, I just cannot break through the board. It is absolutely ridiculous that I have not seen this archetype before, because it looks very fun to play. In a last-ditch effort, I attempt to get out a Winda just to make sure that he can't special summon more monsters to the board, but in the end, that ends up not mattering as he simply goes into the battle phase, powering up his Witchcrafter and punching me in the face. Game 2, we decide to go first yet again, this time siding in Lost Wind just to make sure that he can't do the same thing again. We go into our normal combo of bringing Beast onto the board as well as popping our Shaddoll Fusion to get a Winda to try and prevent it from special summoning to begin with. Refilling our hand using a Beast and Hedgehog's effects, we now go into his turn where he starts off with the same combo again. This time, however, he is not able to bash me in the first turn, and I use my set Twin Twisters to deal with 2 of his back row. That ends up not mattering too much, however, as he simply picks back up the old ones. I flip up Dragon to try and bounce it again, which he attempts to negate when I activate Lost Wind. At this point, however, he pulls all of his banished spells back to his hand. I do negate the effect, and it is bounced back to hand, but unfortunately, I do not have a third monster on my draw, so I cannot end the game here. During his turn, he begins with his spell casting once more, special summoning back his Witchcrafter and a Margarine in order to special summon his combo. Now that he's set up, he is simply going to go all the way in on battle. My field is negated, his dude is powered up, he is going to punch me in the face. He clears my board, however I am still alive, driving a Shaddoll Fusion back to hand. I do have BLS in my hand, but I have no light target in my graveyard to actually special summon it with. I draw into a Wendy, which doesn't help me, so I set it in an attempt to survive one more turn, see if I can find something like a Super Poly. Yet again, he activates Reasoning, and I just take a guess at 4, not knowing what's in his deck, thanks to not having seen it before. He does destroy my Winda, but I do set another Beast. I try to flip up Beast, but it is immediately negated. However, my effect goes off first, and I am allowed to draw 2 cards. Magician's Souls comes out, as we've seen this card before in the Dark Magician matchup, but it is very useful here since it's a spellcaster. He activates Broken Bamboo Sword into Golden Bamboo Sword, letting him draw 2 cards and thus special summoning another Witchcrafter from his deck. We are in a really shitty spot, even though we just got ourselves a Super Poly. For some reason, he manages to resurrect my Winda, which means I can actually Super Poly using Winda and one of his cards. Unfortunately, I go into Shaddoll Fusion first in an attempt to get Construct, which is the biggest misplay I think I've ever done here, meaning I cannot activate Super Poly on my turn. During the end step, he simply pops it. I get a card back, which is going to be Shaddoll Fusion again. During his turn, I immediately go into Super Poly, fusing another Construct from 2 of his cards, getting El Shaddoll Fusion back, dropping a Winda just to make sure that I can try and survive. But that ends up not mattering, as he simply pulls back his Witchcrafter once more, goes into Battle Step, reveals his entire hand full of spells, and punches me for a lot of damage. Game number 5, we're going up against some sort of Time Thief build. Our start is fairly bad as we pop an Allure, setting 2 cards as he goes into Mud Dragon, which essentially shuts down most of our effects. He then immediately goes into his Zodiac card in order to bring up as many cards as possible in order to get his Time Thief Redoer on the board, which he manages to do without any real issues, activating its effect to banish itself and then coming back during the standby phase. He then steals the top card of our deck, turning out to be a spell, to which we flip Dragon, attempting to return it to the deck. He uses the effect to draw a card, and then it is back up to the top. We then Shaddoll Fuse into an Apkalone, in order to shut down one of the effects on the board that doesn't really do anything. And then getting ourselves a Beast and a Falco set. We then punch over his monsters and end our turn on a fairly strong board. During his turn, we activate our El Shaddoll Fusion to get Winda back up to lock him out of special summoning anything, attempting to pop his back row using Dragon's effect. He then activates Cyframe, negating our activation and getting 2 monsters on the board, setting 3 and passing. We just flip open Dragon, put one of those set cards back to his hand, go into battle, and win the game. Game 2 comes around, and he decides to go second. We set 2 cards. He goes into his combo yet again, and it looks very similar to the first time, going back into his Sutopics, going into Time Thief. But he doesn't manage to get Time Thief Rewinder on the board, and I'm sitting here confused, going, okay, I'm just gonna pop off. I activate Shaddoll Fusion, since he has a monster from the extra deck. I go into Shakinaga to make sure I have a negate on the board. Squamata is going to pop it, but it gets Effect Veilered. Okay, I go into battle phase and I punch it to death instead. We end our turn with 3 monsters on board and him having 2 set cards. He attempts to go into the combo again, which this time actually succeeds as he brings out Time Thief. He then attempts to set 1 more card to it, which I allow. At the second he attempts to activate the effect, I activate my negation. He goes for a Ghost Ogre, destroying it, to which I chain Lost Wind just to ensure that it doesn't go off. It doesn't go off, in fact, and he scoops. So with that in mind, our final track record for today ends up with a grand total of 3 wins and 2 losses, earning us a total of 3 start chips. Not half bad, considering this was week number 1 and we didn't really make any changes to the 3 structure decks, I'd say. But there is one place we need to visit before this episode's over.
Yo. What's up, duelist? You need to cut yourself a deal? Then come on over to the Magical Merchants Mystical Market, or the MMM for short. We got the finest deals around when it comes to sealed only challenges. Have a look.
Well, that's one way of handling, I suppose. Welcome to the Magical Merchant's Mystical Market, where he sells us interesting trinkets and items in return for our valuable star chips. Unfortunately for us, Mr. Merchant, there doesn't seem to be anything we can currently purchase, so I guess I'll have to take a range check on this one and come back next week. Is that alright with you?
Come back when you are a bit richer.
Yeah, I'll do exactly that. Now, if you'll excuse me. With that out of the way, thank you all for watching this far. If you'd like to see more content in this style, please remember to click the subscribe button, click the like button if you enjoyed, and as always, I wish you all a wonderful evening. Until next time.